Sammy, you're coming off of back-to-back wins after the bye week against the Packers
Yeah.
and the Lions, right? Defense looks great. You've got wins over the Bucks and the Rams and the Packers and the Lions, and you win an Arrowhead. And yet, still, everybody's kind of like, yeah, uh, we'll get into it a little bit here. It's the Cat Country
Sure
96
will.
Birds recap brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company. Sam Malone, always good to catch up with you, buddy. So
Sure, my man.
your impressions, Dallas week. We're going into Dallas right now. The vibe for you. What are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm keeping my same thoughts as I had last week going into the Lions game. My thought going into the Lions game was we need to beat Detroit more so than we need to beat Dallas, and it's just the whole seeding thing where Dallas isn't even a 500 team yet. But now I'm changing it a little bit where we need to beat Dallas. It's still the Dallas Cowboys. It's an NFC East team, but I'm still holding on where if we don't win this game, we happen to lose this game, I still think the bigger win came the past 2 weeks. I think it's safe to say that the bigger wins were against Green Bay and Detroit rather than Dallas. However, going into Dallas week, you want to beat Dallas. But I wouldn't be surprised. I know this is a long, winding way to get there. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't win this week because the question is out there, does Dallas need this win more than the Eagles do at this point in the season? I would say in order for the Cowboys season, excuse me, to have hope and to, play for a wild card, the Cowboys need to win on Sunday. And the Eagles will still be 3 games up in the NFC East if that happens. But,
Yeah,
you know,
it's and then you've got the Bears on Black Friday, which will be another
right.
big NFC game.
Yep.
Um, Can I ask you this? Do you
Sure.
do because well, let's be real. The questions right now are all around the offense. And is it
Right.
Kevin Patullo? Is it Nick Sirianni? Is it
Hmm.
Jalen Hurts? Is it the offensive line? What are kind of the thing? What's the thing to point to? If I had to ask you, twofold question here.
Sure.
One, what is the thing that you point to that maybe is the reason why this offense isn't kind of finding their way? And two, do you actually think that a loss to the Cowboys may help that? So I'm curious what your answer is. What do
Well,
you think is, if you had to point to one thing on the offense being the problem for you, it's what?
it's you nailed it when you said the offensive line because just when it looks like everyone is healthy, Lane Johnson goes back down. Just when you think everything is great, Cam Jurgens missed 2 weeks. Cam Jurgens missed a game out of the bye week. I think it's the offensive line. They haven't been playing together that much because of injuries. Cam Jurgens was one. Lane, um, uh,
Landon Dickerson.
Thank you. I was going to say
Yes.
Lane Johnson again. Landon Dickerson hasn't been playing healthy. Now, you had a couple nice fill-ins with Brett Toth. We talked about it. But the offensive line consistency, I think, is one of the reasons they can't get the run game going, which is the big picture of why the offense is struggling a little bit. Because it seems like just when you think, all right, well, Barkley's going to break one anyway outside of the offensive line. Eventually, it's going to happen. But just, I think there's that offensive line where they worked so well together last year. For the most part, they were injury free last year. They played as a unit every single game, and I think you're mixing in Fred Johnson, who's doing a heck of a job. I'm a Fred Johnson guy. He's no Lane Johnson, we get that, but he's doing a heck of a job when he has to fill in, and I think he's going to be great on at right tackle for his 4 to 6 weeks. I guess is what it looks like. Lane being out, it
Fingers
just seems
crossed.
like
Yeah.
figures, yeah, right. You're back in time for playoffs is what it looks like. But I think the offensive line is I think it. Crockett, we hear it all the time. Starts with the offensive and defensive line, and you look at the Eagles' offensive line. That health thing is just a key part of as the offensive line goes, the offense goes.
I'm going to disagree. And
That's
I'm going to
fine.
say that it's either Kevin
Mhm.
Patullo or it is Nick Sirianni. In just that, and I don't know that it would be such a buzz right now for Eagles fans if that, listen, they won a Super Bowl last year and you can't
Yeah.
take that away.
No.
But the season before that, this feels eerily similar to it. A team that, that through most of the
No.
season you're saying to yourself, we're finding a way to win, which is excellent. But then
Yeah.
you saw that demise at the end of the season, and when it snowballed, it went downhill quick. And so it's easy to say as a casual fan how there's a lack of creativity
Yeah.
or X, Y, or Z, but there really is. They're not really doing anything efficient. They're very predictable. There was a couple of plays in that game. You even look at the last play where the pass interference call happens on AJ Brown. There's no threat to the defensive back that he's running any other route. Like he's I don't think it was a
Yeah.
penalty. I think it was just they were both just as handy with, but it's so predictable to the point
It
that
is.
multiple times in that Lions game, that was it. They were stuck to them like glue because there was no threat on what they thought these receivers were going to run.
And I see your point. Makes sense. However, let's go back a year. Let's go back to last year where with that healthy offensive line playing every week, you knew that Barkley was going to get it. You knew Barkley was going to run to the left, run to the right, run up the middle. How many times did we say, okay, Barkley's going to go with it? You had a healthy offensive line, weren't terribly creative in the, wild in the offensive play call. They did what they had to do. We all sat down saying Barkley's going to break away this one. He's going to break it. You gave it to Barkley 2 or 3 times in an offensive series. We all knew it was going to happen. And with that healthy offensive line,
Well, it's
it
not the same
really helped.
offensive line. I think Tyler Steen has done a nice job on
Yeah.
where Mekhi Becton maybe would be a little bit
Oh,
vulnerable in the pass game. Mekhi Becton was a
yeah.
road grader in the ground game. Yeah, I'm going to add the health of Cam Jurgens and the health of Landon
Sure.
Dickerson, of course, Lane into that as well.
Yeah.
But still, the you're going to keep hearing about all these hitch routes and curl routes and
Sure.
all those things. But it's like the first play of the game, you come out and you want to throw the football. That's fine. You've had a struggle with your passing game all season. I'm sitting with my son on the couch watching the game, and the first play of the game, I'm going, God,
Yeah.
because you go play action, okay? Because everybody wants to stop Saquon.
Right.
Priority one for everyone this season has been stop Saquon.
Hmm.
You run play action. The whole middle of the defense for the Detroit Lions comes up to the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
You have nothing behind them. You have nothing around behind. You have no one running a square in, no one running a drag, no mesh concept. There's nothing over the back there. And it's just now where the argument comes in is, the most efficient year, the biggest stats, I'll just use AJ Brown because that's the guy that everybody wants to talk about. The biggest year he had was also corresponded with the most turnovers that
Right.
Jalen had in his career. Lost the ball, whatever it was, 19 or 20 times. You got to try to find a middle ground in
Yeah.
there a
Yeah.
little bit with this. And it just feels like all season that hasn't been it. And there's been the stories about, well, if Jalen doesn't want to throw over the middle of the field, or there's these stories about, protecting the football. This team is 40-2 when they win the turnover battle, if I'm not mistaken, under Nick Sirianni. That's huge when you
Unbelievable.
win the turnover battle. So but there is a point where you go from being risk averse to getting it. Dallas is able to score points. Now, of course, the
Hmm.
defense is playing so good. Detroit put up 44 2 weeks ago, and the Eagles held them to made Jared Goff see ghosts in the
Right.
pocket.
Right.
But
Yeah.
there's something that has to change on this offense. I'll ask you this. They did
Hmm.
it a couple of seasons ago. It didn't work out. Do you see a world where, Scott Loeffler is a name that's getting referenced. He called plays when he was coaching at Bowling Green, and
Hmm.
Harold Fannin, who's a really good tight end in the league, has a lot of success, set all sorts of records there as a tight end. Do you see a world where if the Eagles lose on Sunday and it's another 13, 16, 17 point outing, that Nick Sirianni would actually turn to someone else other than his longtime guy, Kevin Patullo, to make the play calls going forward?
Is it too late to do something like that at this point? Do you, if you make a change now? I mean, the Eagles are 8-2 right now. All right, so are you? They're six and
Eight and
two.
two.
Right?
Eight
Eight
and
and two.
two.
No, I was right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Eagles are 8-2 right now. So they go 8-3. Do you make a change, or do you just be like, all right, guys, let's huddle up again and let's fix this? It's not too late to fix it. It might be too late to say, I mean, you're going to get all right to the
Here's
same.
so let me ask you this question.
Yeah,
Okay?
right.
You
Mhm.
put up 10 against Green Bay, you put up 16 against Detroit, and they're good
Right.
defenses. They're not great
Mhm.
defenses, they're good defenses.
Right, right.
In outdoor conditions in Lambeau and outdoor conditions at the link, I'm
Yeah.
not taking away from all of those elements as being
Mhm.
a part of it.
Yeah.
However, we've been having this we'll get
Yeah.
together and figure it out conversation for a couple of weeks. The reason I say maybe you do try something different is because you might have the best defense in football. So
Mhm.
if what you're telling me is we might sputter a little bit and it might look a little clunky at times, but if by the time the playoffs come around,
Yeah.
we're humming, man, if we're humming on both sides of the ball, we saw what happened in the conference championship and in the Super Bowl last year.
Right, right.
It just it all season it's felt just not good. And if you've got
Yeah.
the chance to right that ship right now because of the confidence you have in the defense, then yes, I do say there is no too late. Now is the time to do it.
Um, is it okay for Jalen? Because yet another offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. This time 2 in 1 season, you
Well,
know?
it's so Scott's been with the Eagles as the quarterback coach. He has
Mhm.
called plays. There's that relationship there. It's not like they're going out and bringing, Brian
Right,
Daboll was a coach for him at Alabama. It's not like they're bringing Brian Daboll to come in and all of a sudden be like, well, here's all the things we're going. You've got
correct.
somebody in the building that's familiar with the calls and the terms and all of those things. Maybe he just sees it a little bit differently
Right,
than Nick
right.
and
Okay.
Kevin Patullo do, but the hard part in all this is I don't think that's it. I think this is Nick's. I think
Do
this
you
is a Nick and Kevin Patullo thing, and they're going to
well,
ride it until the wheels fall off.
that well, I mean, I mean,
And
it's a
that's
tough
what's tough about
situation.
it because
It is yeah.
we have seen the wheels fall off before.
Yes,
We've
we
seen
have.
the wheels come
But
off of it, but we've also
look
seen a ring. So
okay,
you're
so the last we always reference 2 years ago when everything fell apart. 10 and 1, barely make the playoffs. That year, the defense was not good. The last 7, 8 games of the season, absolutely horrible. Is it easier to go in, let's fix the offense than it is the defense? I think it is. Knowing you have a solid defense right now and you're only fixing, I don't want to say only fixing the offense, but I, I don't know. This is a tough call. I'm looking at myself. Okay, I'm in charge. I'm making the call. We're sticking with what we got. We're going to make a change within the organization, who the players know. That's the key. I don't know if I would do anything right now. I mean, you brought the point up. Maybe this is the time. If they do lose this week, maybe I open my mind to it a little bit more. But I'm not just going to jump and say, "Oh, we got to fix it right now." Yeah, it's been a problem all year. I understand, but I'm not going to jump and say we got to make a change going into next Sunday. I can't do that right now as the guy making these decisions for the Eagles. I wouldn't be able to make that change right now.
it just feels
I
it
know.
the and again, they won a Super Bowl last year, and there's
Yep.
all that credit to them. And how much of that was Kellen Moore? How much of that was all those things? I get it,
Yeah.
but man,
Mm.
that that smell of
Yeah.
2023, and you're right about the defense. You're absolutely right, but that smell of 2023 continues to linger in the air.
And I get.
Um,
I'm there too. I know exactly that we barely beat the Giants. I remember towards the end of the season that year. That's how
yeah,
tough it was. I remember that
yes.
very well.
And
It's
Arizona was a bad team, and if it wasn't
yeah,
for a Sidney Brown interception return in that game for a touchdown, that
yeah,
game's probably not particularly close. So
yeah, that's right.
but
It's
they're 8-2, and they're the
8-2
Super Bowl
Crockett.
champions, and it still feels it just feels
Yeah.
clunky. It's a Cat Country 96 Birds recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by Cat Country 96, of course, the Lehigh Valley's home of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Banko
Yes.
Beverage. Speaking of our friends at Banko, you and I are going to be out on Tuesday. Mox Goot
Yes.
doing a live stream,
Yes.
getting ready for that short week against the Bears. That game will be just
Yep.
around the. We'll be out on Tuesday. They'll be playing Friday. Don't forget
Right.
Eagles Black Friday game against
Amazing.
Chicago. And
Yeah.
also, we've got a tailgate going on this weekend as well, right? Cat's going to be out for a
Yeah.
tailgate.
Yeah. Christy O'Brien is going to be at a Caddy Corner in. They have 2 locations. She's going to be in Nazareth from Sunday from 3 until 5. I understand there's another Eagles autographed helmet you can win. This time, you ready?
Ooh.
Zach, Bond.
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
it
And there's not
is.
even gonna be any loose hair in that helmet because he doesn't
That's
have any.
right.
So,
There
yeah,
you
it'll
go.
be
That's it.
you
Yes.
know, it'll be good getting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Zach Bond and that defense, we spent a lot of time talking about the offense. Vic Fangio has these guys cooking
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh.
What can you say? Listen, it's not a secret on how you get to Jared Goff. You get in his lap and
That's
you
what you
don't
do.
let
Yeah.
him comfortable. If you let him pick you apart, he
Yeah.
will. If you heat him up, he won't.
You
And the
will.
Eagles did just that
Well,
on Sunday night.
the thing that I've noticed the most is the Eagles aren't getting a lot of sacks, but they are getting a lot of pressures. And those pressures, Goff's going to get rid of the ball. How many times did we see the ball into the dirt? Excuse me, into
Yeah.
the dirt from Goff because of the pressures. And well, a sack is nice, a sack is great, but so are these pressures, getting him uncomfortable, not knowing where to go to. What kind of pressure the Eagles are going to dial up, which is great to see. And it's good to see DeJean with his first regular season interception, I believe. Not
That's
just
so
this year, but it was
crazy. Yeah,
isn't it crazy?
it
So
really
Cooper had
is.
one, and just to see the development of Quinyon Mitchell, to me, watching him is amazing. I love seeing him play ball. I really do. And
I
I
mean,
mean, I didn't even mention the linebackers. What we do with Zach Bond and Phillips. I mean, these guys are looking good, and we just got to. Dallas is a quick offensive team, so we just got to keep up the pace. Sunday afternoon, not a night game.
yes, not a night game. Well,
Yeah.
you go back to that week one, and if I think George Pickens was still getting himself settled
Yeah.
into the offense a little bit. CD Lamb doesn't drop a couple of those passes that are on the numbers. That's a much different game, but I think this defense has
Yep.
come a long way since then. I think they are humming. I think N'Kobe Dean being back in has
Oh,
been like you
huge.
thought it would be a big deal from you and I talked when he was coming back, just from a run fit scheme kind of a thing, just
Yep.
how comfortable he was, especially with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in front of him and their long history and what he did well at Georgia. I mean, he has looked
Yeah.
fantastic since he's
Yeah.
come back into this lineup.
Big, and I remember I was just getting so excited for the return of N'Kobe Dean, and for good reason. Lights out. The guy's been playing amazing, and for the first time in a couple weeks, Crockett, I say when the Eagles are on defense, I'm not really not nervous. I feel confident that and don't forget week one against Dallas, Carter wasn't playing either because of the ejection, so he's going to be back
Yes.
in the lineup. Yeah, we remember that.
Yes. And hopefully trying to make an impression in a different way in this
That
game, I would imagine.
correct.
I would
Absolutely.
imagine he hasn't forgotten too much about that one.
No,
Well,
I don't think he has.
yeah, we'll find out all about it on Sunday. Eagles heading into Dallas, always a fun game. And then, like I said, we'll get ready. So again, we're going to be out at Mock Scoot
Yeah,
Tuesday, sometime in the 12:30 range, getting out
yeah.
there to do a live stream there with our friends at Banko Beverage Company and Miller Lite, which will be excellent. One more time, the tailgate this weekend is where and when?
Caddy Corner in Nazareth, Sunday from 3 until 5 with Christy.
Excellent. All right.
Yes.
So go Birds.
Go
Sammy,
Birds.
hopefully the next time we're talking, it's 9-2, and
Oh,
we're
I
talking
hope
about how
so.
the Eagles scored 49 and the Cowboys
Oh,
scored nothing,
I
and we're
love
all
it.
very excited about how that went.
Well, we'd
Um,
still find something to be concerned about,
I would imagine. Braden
though.
Mann shanked a punt out of bounds, and now all
Right.
of a sudden do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Cat Country 96 Birds recap. It is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by Banko Beverage Company. For Sam Malone, thank you, buddy. Go Birds, and
Crockett.
I'll see you on Tuesday after that Cowboys game.
You got it. Go Birds.
Go Birds.